is going to walk you through another section 3.3 from this book, The Heresy of Heresies, a defense of Christian common sense realism, that I wrote and came out a couple years ago. So this chapter is on the interior path to existence developed by Edith Stein, and we're working through some criticisms of that view. The two criticisms in the last video were on whether or not her view is a weak induction, and whether or not it's deals with essential exemplification at all. And I tried to give some responses to those two, and think that her view is not a weak induction. It's quite a good argument for eternal being from our experience of finite being. So here's another problem with Stein's view, and it has to do with the problem of non-being. Okay, so we're starting with this interior sense of our awareness of ourselves, and Stein early on says that we're actually aware of non-being. Okay, so Stein is very clear that when we grasp being from our experience of ourselves, we also grasp non-being. Here's what she says. This is on page 14 of her text. This is a translation from a philosopher named Walter Redmond. You can find a few of his videos. You have to kind of hunt for them. He's a brilliant philosopher. And he's working on a translation of Edith Stein's work from German into English. It's a new translation. And so this translation is from him. I don't think that book has appeared in print to my knowledge yet, but it should be coming out. I can't recall the publisher, but you can find Walter Redmond. Yeah, chase that down. I'm gonna get a copy for sure when it comes out. So, all right. So here is what she says in Redmond's translation. When I turn toward being, it shows me, as it is in itself, two faces: the face of being and the face of non-being. The German word is Nichtsein. Nichtsein. Nicht. I don't hablo German so good. Nichtsein. No sign. Non-being. This seems like a flat-out contradiction to me. Okay, I don't see how you can get over this contradictory state of affairs. If being can be shown as it is in itself, both being and non-being, then being itself is non-being. How is that not contradictory? Let me say that again. If being can be shown as it is in itself, as both being and non-being, then being is also non-being. Right? In other words, being can't show itself to be non-being, because then it wouldn't be being. It's kind of fun to say, isn't it? So how's that not contradictory? That's kind of my question. So in this section, I want to say something about Heidegger and Seinfeld. Shows about nothing, right? Suppose you could follow Stein on the concept of non-being, where you think that non-being is some kind of positive reality, right? Where you just take non-being to be something that's like a positive kind of thing. Maybe this comes from Heidegger, right? I suppose you could take Heidegger and run with it. He has a lot to say in his essay called What is Metaphysics about Non-Being. Now, Stein is clear that she is influenced by Heidegger in her own views in the preface to her book Eternal and Finite Being. She's clear on that, and was deeply impressed with Heidegger's Being and Time, his major work, Being and Time, and that certain quote certain reminiscences may have found their way into, end quote, her own views in her book Eternal and Finite Being. Whether Heidegger's discussion of nothing from What is Metaphysics also found its way into Stein's chapter, it's difficult for me to say, not being a scholar of either one of these philosophers. But I think it's going to be consistent with what Stein was influenced from Heidegger. Other than Stein does have a place for non-being in her discussions of how we come to see that existence is eternal. So Stein seems to me as cautious and judicious of her views of non-being As I've indicated earlier, it appears that Stein may mean in her discussion of our knowledge of eternal being by relying on knowledge of not being, that may simply mean a change of being, right, rather than literally nothing. Heidegger, though, is an entirely different matter. It's his views on what is metaphysics, that essay. It's entirely different. Heidegger plows right into a discussion of nothing. Let me just pause and say something. Not sure if I should say this or not, but it seems to me that Heidegger was kind of made up. Now, it's not saying he wasn't real, but I'm just saying that the powers that be during his lifetime, I think, made him what he was and promoted him to be their spokesperson. Let me just leave it at that. And I could be wrong about that, of course. That's my take. A little parenthetical remark there on Heidegger. Heidegger plows right into a discussion of nothing, throwing caution and, seems to me, logic to the wind. I mean, he just lets it all go. Here's what he says in that essay. Quote, "If, however, we refuse to be led astray by the formal impossibility of inquiry into nothing, and still continue to inquire in the face of it, we must at least satisfy what remains, the fundamental prerequisite for the full pursuit of any inquiry. If nothing as such is still to be inquired into, it follows that it must be given in advance. We must be able to encounter it." End quote. Again, that's from Heidegger, What is Metaphysics? Wow. What do you say to that? I don't know how to take this seriously, and that's why I think maybe Heidegger just, like the powers that be during his time, whatever powers were behind the scenes, I mean deeply, ontically behind the scenes, those powers, the powers, principalities and powers, those kinds of powers. Well, let me just say, it seems like that would be something they would say. So, because once you let logic go, when Heidegger talked about formal impossibilities, right? Once you let logic go, well, you can pretty much get away with anything, or nothing. So why not go ahead and talk about, well, you can encounter nothing. Like I said, once you let logic go, you probably can get away literally with nothing. This, to me, seems one of the most diabolically disastrous beliefs in philosophy. And I mean that literally. Literally diabolical. I can't even say it. Maybe I shouldn't say it. Devilishly. Diabolically. It's a really, really bad idea to let logic go. It's disastrous for your soul and for the world we live in. So I find it odd that Heidegger seems to follow Kant's metaphysical disaster of separating the noumenal, right, the world of our experiences in here, and the world outside in the ordinary world, the noumenal, and the phenomenal, what's in our minds. Then if we're going to encounter nothing, it's still behind and constructed by the categories of the understanding or schema of space and time. If Dasein, to use Heidegger's word, is all there is, and you can encounter nothing in Dasein, then Dasein and nothing go together. Something and nothing together at last. Right? Think of the square of opposition. The square of opposition, if you need to look this up for a bit of logic, right, in basic Aristotelian categorical logic, is four propositions, all S or P, where S and P are subject and predicate terms, no S or P, some S or P, some S or not P. Right? And the two corners of the square are contradictories. Right? So what Heidegger's saying is, forget all that. You can have all, let's just say, all cats are mammals, all dogs are mammals, and no dogs are mammals. Those are both true. Or they're both the same. They're both the same. Or no dogs are fish, and some dogs are fish. Yeah, those are the same. I mean, that's crazy talk. It's literally madness. It's madness. I think Heidegger's giving us a love story here. The logical relation of contradiction. That dreaded full reality. has been keeping the contradictory some S or P and no S or P are apart. Right? It's like a tragic love story. Two propositions, they want to be kept, they want to be so united, but they've been kept apart by the formal possibilities, formal reality. They've been staring at each other from opposite corners of the square of opposition from time immemorial, longing for the day that they might embrace. Well, the old German, Herr Martin Heidegger, unconstrained by the formal impossibility of something and nothing uniting, has brought two strange lovers, apparently finally embracing as one. But can you embrace nothing? Talk about a problem. All right, if you're enjoying these videos, please give it a thumbs up, a like, apparently that's a thumbs up, and subscribe so that you can get updates when these videos come out. The next video, we're going to continue our discussion of being and non-being and the Heideggerian problem that Stein faces in a little section I'm calling Finding Nemo. Remember, the word Nemo in Latin means nobody. Can nobody be found? All right, thanks for watching.
Stay psyched, Grom. Ew.